Alright, so what I've got here is the Dewalt ToughSystem DS300 box. I've already mounted my Lithium Titanate battery in here, and the goal for today is to mount the inverter roughly about here. I could mount it closer to this side for, extra capacity for other items, but I think I want to mount it somewhere, I don't know, a midship, roughly in this area. I have designed and printed some braces, I suppose, the best way to refer to it. I tried to kind of do this truss-looking design just for cool points, I guess, but also just to reduce the mass while keeping the rigidity kind of high enough. And the idea is that they're going to be adhered in position here and provide a surface for, or not a surface, but a physical location to mount the inverter into position. I've already done a dry test fit, so now all I really need to do is do some glue up. Now the hard part is getting these two sides correctly aligned, because this brace and this brace are not perfectly in line. This brace is actually about, I don't know, 8 to 10 millimeters in this direction. So what I'm going to have to do is, I guess, square up on this surface, project out to here, and glue that in place. But I'm going to start by gluing this side in place. And what I'm going to do first is use good old 3M Tape Primer 94. Now I need to be a little careful because I've got a battery mounted in here. The safest thing for me to do would actually be to unmount this battery, because if I drop a metal tool in here with a battery that can short circuit to 1200 amps, it's going to be a bad day. Especially considering this primer contains a flammable solvent. What could possibly go wrong? Right? Right? So let me just remove this battery real quick. This is also the perfect opportunity for me to apply some heat shrink sleeving onto here, so I think I'm going to do that first real quick. So you can already see here the Tape Primer 94 that I used with the VHB tape to adhere the bottom bracket into place, and this bracket is not going anywhere. So I'm going to do the same thing with these two brackets, and all I'm going to do is just paint on with this foam tip applicator a band of Tape Primer 94. Now the instructions for Tape Primer 94 imply that all you really need to do is apply a thin uniform coat and allow it to dry, and then there's a certain amount of open time on this primer before you lose the effectiveness with VHB tape. This primer does improve adhesion of VHB tape to low surface energy plastics. This is, I think, polypropylene, so it's a relatively low energy plastic, up there with Teflon and polyethylene. All that means is that there's, I guess, very few polar groups, very few opportunities for hydrogen bonding, and all the bonding you're going to get is van der Waals interactions, if you're into chemistry kind of things. So I'm going to paint this onto here, and then we're going to VHB tape this into place, and then we're going to mount this into place and put the battery back in, I think. So, time to go. Now you should use gloves, but I'm stubborn right now, so that, and it feels a little irresponsible to use gloves during a pandemic when healthcare workers, like certain family members, are struggling without PPE, so, there's that. Kind of has a solventy smell to it, and you're going to probably want to ventilate the room out, but that's all you're really going to do. I'm actually over-applying because I don't know exactly where the tape strips are going to land, and I would rather have this in place than need more of it later when stuff is already installed. Kind of has like a hexane smell to it, so I probably don't want to breathe in this stuff too much. So if you're not familiar, hexane is a neurotoxin. It's also hepatotoxic. It's ever so famous for causing factory workers for Apple nervous system tremors, because they use hexane, which is a really great degreasing solvent, from, I guess, it's a really great degreasing solvent because it's so non-polar. However, it seems to cause some neurological issues as a result. And it's a bit famous because, well, there were some exposés regarding it, and I guess the ethics of the supply chain and consumption. I'm going to take the solvent that's pooled at the bottom, or the primer rather, that's pooled at the bottom, and just kind of pull it up, because I don't need so much down at the bottom. I do want a certain amount of primer out from the bottom though, so I am going to paint a little extra here. And the other side will go out to about here. So I am going to paint that into place. It's kind of a toluene after smell, it seems. But yeah, that's all I really need to do, so I can just fasten this lid back into place, not spilling it everywhere in the process, and we'll be good to go. Alright, while the primer is drying, I am going to put VHB tape on the mating surfaces of these two rails, and I'm going to try and wrap it around so that all I need to do is just press this into place and I'll be good to go. Now, ideally, I don't want to waste any VHB, but I would also like to avoid, I guess, discontiguous pieces, so I think what I'm going to do is cut a slice off lengthwise and attempt to, I guess, apply it here. Or what I could do is apply it in this fashion, and then slice it off. Yeah, I'm going to try this first. Roll it up onto here, and then roll it down onto here. Okay, that is now duly adhered. What I should have done was paint this with primer as well, but I think it'll be fine. Alright, so now what we're going to do is apply a slice lengthwise. I'm going to save the bulk of the tape. And then we're going to slice this way. It may take several slices to get there. Alright, that's most of the way through. And now I got to do it this way. And this might be a little risky, but we'll see how well this works. Actually, that works out quite nicely. All I gotta do is avoid cutting towards myself. Oh, no, maybe not so well. It's bound up again. Alright, that is one piece of material taped up. It's okay. I'll clean that up in a second. ready to go. Alright, that's done. So all I'm going to do now is save the remaining piece of VHB tape, because I don't feel like wasting this expensive stuff. Retract that. And realize how crappy this knife is, because the blade doesn't even retract fully. Look at that. Alright. Now let's affix this side in here. I'm going to get one shot, so camera is rolling. Just gotta actually get the liner off first. That's always the hard part, getting the liner off of these tapes. Never easy. There we go. Alright. Let's not fuck this up. I might have fucked this up. Holy wow, that's holding strong. So this is mounted in here and it's pretty freaking strong. Let's do the other one. There's the liner. Alright. Now for the hard part. See, I wish I had a shorter square, because I can't even get it in here. Phrasing. I mean, the best I can hope for are shorter straight edges to provide at least some kind of fiducial reference. I know this is like really crude, but it only has to be good enough. Alright, I think that's good enough. So we're going to align this. It's in place. We're adhered down. It's not going anywhere. Time to install the inverter. Okay, that's pretty successful. It's also going to be interesting to see how hard it is to get to these two terminal lugs. I have manually pre-cut out a hole in the truss, I suppose, the mounting plate, and the inverter does more or less sit almost flush with the bottom. There is a bit of a warp bow that's a little bit proud facing the camera here, so that should help support the inverter. It does seem like there is a bit of torque on this support that doesn't seem to be captured by the bottommost tape. Alright, so this is installed now. And I've got the battery pack just lowered gently back into place. The heat shrink should prevent any scratching of this plastic coating, which the outer metal casing is part of the electrical circuit. I think it would be the cathode. Either way, it would be bad if we shorted those out from cell to cell. Like if you were to cut the plastic coating here and then short it with a bar, it would get very exciting. Not in a good way either. So we'll resecure this battery pack in here for now, and I think we will call that a qualified success for the evening. As a teaser for the next portion,
adult patient, call for medical assistance.
That is not what I wanted to do.
Remove clothing from patient's chest to expose.
I do not need defibrillation right now. Alright, so teaser for the next time, I have the lid, which actually technically goes this way, and I have gone and fastened with a 3D printed piece this fuse block onto these ribs. Of course, sticking with the black and yellow theme for Dewalt, I've used yellow PETG on this 3D print. To affix this here, I've used cyanoacrylate glue to connect the polypropylene with the 3D print, and we'll start wiring things up eventually. On this side, I'm going to place a circuit breaker, and in other portions I may place some lower voltage accessories, such as like a USB port or something, potentially. We'll see. But there's plenty of customization options with these ribs here, plenty of material to work with. We'll see what happens next. But for now, I've got a battery pack, I've got an inverter, so all I really need to do is start wiring up the battery to a battery management system, wire that up to a charge controller, inverter fuses. I've got the Blue Sea Systems Mega Fuse Holder. Oop, that could have been bad. And a 300 amp fuse, just as a last resort. I'm going to have a 150 amp breaker, which should give plenty of current for the battery and accessories, but this fuse is the absolute last resort. So this is going to get mounted in here somewhere, probably using the same technique, using VHB tape and a 3D print mount. I'm just not sure where I'm going to put it, because anywhere in this interstitial space becomes hazardous. In order to replace this, you need to start using metal tools in here. But if you put it on the lid, then you end up running heavy cables up to the lid and then back down. It's a little inefficient. So there may be a period of time where it floats around in here. We will see. I may also need to fabricate a... oh, I just realized that this screw is shorter than these screws. I might have to fabricate a plate which sits back here and acts as an additional mounting surface for materials. We'll see. One step at a time. I mean, first I want to get the other components mocked up, including the battery management circuitry. So I may still run the heavy gauge, I think it's like 4 gauge cables up to the lid and then back down to the inverter. We'll see. But I think that's it for this installment of the battery pack. I know it's been on hold for a while. COVID, work, everything. A lot of industries are having a really hard time coping with the pandemic, and you know, we're all trying our best to help people in the world, so there's been a lot of overtime and not enough time to frankly breathe. I think that's about it. I also just realized that there are these T-nut rails in the back corners. I wish I noticed this before, because I could have used this for my mounting purposes. That is interesting. There's a T-shaped rail back here. I could insert a metal panel and mount stuff to this side. I wish I noticed that, but it's there. I don't have anything non-metallic to slip into that slot, and I don't want to risk it with a metal object and batteries. So I think that's enough rambling for now. I'm going to call it here. Have a good one. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about big battery packs like this. And until next time, peace out.